Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to Bones Collector. Tonight we got a special video for you about the top 5 board game designers in the world. And but this is a video that I've been looking forward to making because I want to weigh in on that. The games, or the designers that I'm going to talk about are designers that I have played a lot of their board games, and I have fallen in love with them. Lori and I have them in our game library, and I wanted to tell you about these guys and who I thought was the best at doing that. And the reason why that's important is because if you find a board game that you really like, chances are if you see another board game with that designer's name on it, you might want to check that out because you'll probably like that one too. That's the way it works in the board game industry. Sometimes it doesn't work like that, but for the most part, that's what's going to happen. So I wanted to bring you this video and talk to you about who I thought was the best board game designers in the world. And so without further ado, we're going to bring you the top 5 board game designers in the world right now. And by the way, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Here they come. Okay, in number 5, the 5th spot, I did something I said I wasn't going to do. I had a tie between Vladimir Suki and Rainer Knizia. So I broke my own rule. You make rules when you do stuff like this, and you say, well, I'm never going to do that. Well, never is a long, long time, and I'm going to go ahead and say there are 2 guys that have tied for the number 5 spot on great board game designers. And let's talk about their games a little bit. First, Vladimir Suki. He is a Czech board game designer, and I believe he's around 48, 50 years old, and these are the games that I currently have in my library by him. The ones I do not have are his new one, Underwater Cities, and the Prodigal Club. So I haven't played the Prodigal Club or Underwater Cities, but these 3 games got him on this list, and they're amazing. Shipyard was his first game. It came out in 2009, and it's a wonderful game about being a shipyard owner, and it uses a nice action selection mechanism with tile placement, and just a lot of fun. Once you build it, you can build different kinds of ships. You score different types of bonus points for the different kinds of ships, and fulfill government contracts, and you have to take the ships out on a test run. So it's a great economic simulation. Just wonderful game, Shipyard. Last Will is about exactly that. Last Will and Testament, where you receive you get some money, and you have the first one to spend all their money wins the game. It's actually opposite of what you'd think. The one who is able to spend all of the money that they're given by the end of the game, of course, will inherit everything in the will. So the rich uncle has the contest, and whoever can do that receives the balance of the estate. So that's a great game, Last Will. I also have there's an expansion in here called Getting Sacked, I think is the name of it, and it adds to the game and makes it even more fun. But that's Last Will, and it's beautiful. Pulsar 2849 by Vladimir came out in 2017, and generally I don't like space games. Well, let's put it this way. I don't like space boards. Board games with space on the board, because space is like it's way out there. It's an eternity thing, and it just usually it's just so dry and ugly that I hate them. But in this case, I'll make an exception because in Pulsar 2849, that's just a wonderful application of space in this game. It's a great theme, a wonderful game, and I'm in love with it, obviously. So these games, I don't see them leaving my library anytime soon, and they're all by a guy named Vladimir Suki. And I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Vladimir. Okay, on this side, tying for number 5 is Rainer Knizia, and Rainer Knizia has developed a lot of games. He's designed a lot of games. I don't have them all. These are the ones I currently own and play and love. Lord of the Rings is a game that came out in 2001, and it really introduced cooperative play in board gaming, as far as I know. I'm sure there might have been some that were earlier, but for me this was it. And this is the best version of Lord of the Rings that's out there as far as I'm concerned. It came out a long time ago, you know, 2001, that's a while ago. But this is a wonderful game. It has a couple of boards in it, so you get in the different worlds of the Lord of the Rings universe, and it's a wonderful game to play. Quest for El Dorado, I've had since it came out. It came out in 2017. It's kind of a racing game. Lori and I just love playing that. It's very quick. It's got a deck building element in it, so that's a lot of fun. Lost Cities is a card game, Adici's a card game, and Shotenton is a card game. So these are all little card games that I'm really in love with by Robert Knizia. So, and he's done some other games, like I say, that I don't own. His new one is Yellow and Yangtze. I think it came out in 2018. And another game worth mentioning is Tigris and Euphrates, which is an absolutely wonderful game from 1997. So these guys tied for number 5. Again, I don't like doing that, but I couldn't leave one of these guys off. It's kind of like, you know, how the Burgermeister Burger, he ended up playing with a yo-yo after he made a law you couldn't play with toys in Sombertown. Well, it's kind of like that. I broke my own law, and I'm just going to have to live with it. So that's number 5. Number 4, Vlada Chvátil. Vlada is another Czech board game designer, and I think he's about the same age as everybody else, you know, in his late 40s or 50, and which I just found so interesting. But anyways, he has some amazingly designed games. And the thing that makes Vlada Chvátil kind of a special entity all on his own is that his games are so different from each other. And that's kind of strange. Usually a board game designer, his games are have a similar feel, and a lot of times so that you know it's by that person. But these Vlada's games, they're all across the board, and so that's kind of it's kind of weird, kind of different, and kind of wonderful. But boy, he's got some games that I'm just in love with, and so is everyone else. And let's start out with Through the Ages, a very popular civilization building game. This is Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. There was an earlier version. This is the one that I have. But it's a wonderful civilization building game for 2 to 4 players. Mage Knight came out in 2015. I forget when the first one came out. Then Mage Knight came out in 2011, a tile-laying fantasy game. It can be played cooperatively. And then also Codenames. There's like, I don't know how many versions of Codenames. There's a lot. But this is Codenames Duet, and Lori and I love playing that game. It's just a whole lot of fun. Tash Kalar, Arena of Legends, is a game that you may have missed if you're a board gamer, but you should go back and revisit it and take a look at it. It's you have variable player powers, a hand of cards with these characters on it that have different powers, and you're going to try to lay down patterns on a board, and that's how you score your points. On the card it has a pattern. It shows you how you have to develop that pattern with tiles, and then once you do that with your character, you score points. So Tash Kalar, man, it's a great game. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, do it. It's a wonderful game. And my favorite game by Vlada is always I hope it's always going to be Dungeon Pets. I just love playing Dungeon Pets. It's a wonderful game that as soon as I played it, I fell in love with it. It came out in 2011. It's for 2 to 4 players, and it's in my top 25 games of all time. So Vlada's got a lot of great board games. This isn't all of them, though. Dungeon Lords is a game that he designed, and also Galaxy Trucker. And Galaxy Trucker is very popular, and you know, a lot of people love that game. It just didn't hit a home run with me. It's got a real-time element, and then in the first half of the game, and then the second half of the game is not timed. But Galaxy Trucker, very popular with a lot of folks. Just didn't, like say, hit with me. But these games did. These games are wonderful, and check them out. If you haven't picked up one of these games, man, they're amazing. And Vlada Chvátil is amazing. And thank you, Vlada, for these games. Woohoo! We're down to number 3, and number 3 is a biggie. Uwe Rosenberg, another German board game designer. And man, this guy's been active over the years. He's got a lot of games, and I'm not going to mention all of them, but these are some of the ones that I own. I don't know if there's any more that I don't own. Like I say, Uwe's been very active, and his masterpiece, in my opinion, is Agricola. It's a board game that should be in every board game library. You know, if you love playing board games, it's just an incredible farming simulation that he developed, and the cards in it are beautiful with the occupations and so forth. But man, what a great game. Le Havre, same thing. Just a wonderful, wonderful game with the multi-use cards in it. Glass Road's an excellent game by Uwe, and it has a beautiful resource wheel that you use that's hard to manage, very difficult. I mean, it's a brain-burning thing when you're trying to move those hands, like hands of a clock, and you're trying to, they're scooting the resources around that you're allowed to use, so that's very difficult to manage and very fun. I mean, when it's difficult like that, I mean, when games are challenging, that's what makes it fun. I mean, it makes you think, and man, Uwe's games are like that. Feast for Odin is a massive game where you're, it's kind of a, you're preparing and building and you know, really doing a feast for Odin, and preparing a feast for Odin, and you on your player board you start out in the negative, and that's the challenge of the game. You're like, I don't know how many points, -80, let's say, and you have to cover up all these negatives on your player board in order to get into the black in that game, and that's kind of a challenge in Feast for Odin. Fields of Arla is one of the best two-player games in the world, and it's I think, if I'm not mistaken, Arla was Uwe's father's hometown, maybe, something like that. But man, that's a great game too. Fields of Arla, two-player only game. And Caverna, also another wonderful game by Uwe. I love Caverna. Caverna, like Fields of Arla, it's a blank canvas game. You get to start out and make every decision that you make from the beginning has a consequence. It's a lot like real life. Every decision you make has a consequence, and you just choose your direction and start building and try and score as many points as you can. So both those games are excellent. And then these games here was like a puzzle series games. If you like Tetris, you would love these games. And Cottage Garden came out first, and Indian Summer, then Spring Meadow. They're different in various ways, but I love them all because I like doing those kinds of puzzles. And I don't have Ora et Labora or Mercator or At the Gates of Loyang or Bohanza. Those are all very popular games by Uwe. So Uwe Rosenberg, he's number 3, and he's an excellent board game designer. And generally speaking, I mean, I'm going to say it over and over again in this video, if you like one game by a designer, you probably will want to check out his other games. And this is no exception. I mean, as soon as I see Uwe Rosenberg is designing a new game, I'm interested. I know my ears pick up, and yeah, well, I think I want to check that out. So Uwe Rosenberg, number 3, folks. Pick up some of these games. Hey, here we are at number 2. Man, it's going quick. And this guy's a genius, number 2. His name is Vitalis Oliveira, and I believe he's Portuguese. And hey, these are the games that I have by Vital. I am in love with Vitalis Oliveira's board game designs. They are big, heavy Euros and very challenging intellectually, and I love that in a board game, and you will too. You don't always want to play games that challenge you that hard, but there are times when you want to sit down to a game and really put your intellect to the test. You know, really get those that gray matter burning and really pushing yourself hard. And these games will do that. I'm in love with every one of them. The Gallerist is exactly what you would expect it to be. It takes place in the art world where you're going to discover an artist, and his paintings are going to get more and more valuable as the game goes on. And as long as you play your cards right, you're going to score lots of points. In Vinos Deluxe, you're going to be running a vineyard and growing grapes and turning those grapes into selected wines and impressing judges and so forth with your great wines and scoring points like that. Lisboa is about Lisbon, and in the, I can't remember when, 1600s or something, it got hit with some disasters, a big fire and tsunami, and they really destroyed the city, and they had to rebuild it. So that's what you're going to do in Lisboa. You're going to have some help from some dignitaries that are going to give you money and privileges, and you're going to rebuild using rubble the city of Lisbon. Lisboa is the name of the game, and it's probably, I think probably Vital's best design. I love this game, and but it's not my favorite. CO2 is a second chance. It's about exactly that. It's about building renewable energy power plants on the planet, and helping to reverse the negative effect that we've had on the planet by having dirty fossil fuel plants. So it's a cooperative game, and boy, it's a lot of fun, and I check out my video on it and I show you how to play this game. It's amazing. But my favorite game by Vitalis Oliveira is Kanban. Now, I have to confess that I have kind of a connection to the auto industry. My wife Lori and her family were all involved in General Motors in Michigan, and I worked for them for a little while. I went in and had a cup of coffee and left. But in Kanban, you're running an auto factory, and you have a plant manager named Sandra that she moves independently around the board, and boy, when she catches up to you and gives you a review as a foreman, you better be doing a good job or she's going to punish you, and you better get those cars rolling off the assembly line. You better gather the resources you need to build a transmission and a chassis, and get those cars lined up and rolling off that assembly line in order to win this game. Man, I tell you, it's a very, very rich economic simulation. I just love Kanban. I love playing it. It's just an amazing game, and I just wish that Eagle Griffin Games would produce this, much like these. I don't really like boxes as big as this in my board game collection. However, because these games are so good, I'm willing to put up with it, and this production is off the charts on these games that are put out by Eagle Griffin Games. So it's just amazing, and these games are amazing, and Vitalis Oliveira's games he's a genius, and it's just an amazing game. Now, and it goes back to what I was telling you, when you like one game by a designer, you need to check out other things that designer does. And so he had a Kickstarter last year that came up for a game called Escape Plan, so I'm waiting and with anticipation for that game to get here. And also he did a game with his daughter called Dragon Keeper, so I backed that also. So I can't wait till those games get here, because again, I'm in love with the games that this guy designs. I spend many, many hours playing them, and I can't get enough of these games. They're just wonderful. Check them out, you'll love them. Vitalis Oliveira, he's number 2. Number 1. I hope you board gamers know that this is no surprise. Stefan Feld. He's the number 1 board game designer working in the board game industry today. And these are some of the games that I have by Stefan. And I guess the first thing I want to say is why I love his games so much. I mean, what about Stefan's games are so attractive to me personally, and my wife Lori when we play games. I guess it's just that they offer so much gameplay in the box. I mean, all the boxes are pretty much about that size, but they're so rich. These games are so rich. The decisions are so difficult, and there's so many in the game. In one of Stefan's games, you're just going to have a lot of different decisions to make, and that's really cool. I mean, you don't want to have to make 1 or 2 decisions. I like to have a big choice, and in his games, that's what you get. And also, when Stefan uses dice, his use of dice in his board games is unrivaled. You know, just no matter what you roll, you know, usually when you're rolling dice, if you get a 6, hey, great. If you get a 1, you stink. You know, it's a bad thing. But in his games, every dice, when you roll it, has a function. You just have to choose what action you want that dice assign that dice to. So that's really cool. He does great with dice mechanics. So I really, really love that. And gee whiz, let's see. Let's start with this game. Merlin uses a rondel for action selection, and on it, you know, it's like the Knights of the Round Table thing, but every space has an action, and you can take that action or the one directly across the rondel. So that's pretty cool. He developed or designed this game with Michael Reineck, who does one of my favorite little box games, Santiago de Cuba. So I really, really love Merlin. Jorvik is a game about plunder and bidding. Trajan is probably a game that most people say is Stefan's best design. And I love it too. I don't know if it's his best. I love them all. So I'd have difficulty. Someone said, pick your favorite. I don't know. There's things I like about all of his games. Luna is a great game with a modular board, and High Priestess moves around. You got to watch out for her from island to island. And Rialto is a game about Venice, building bridges and buildings. And Oracle of Delphi is a game of pick up and deliver. And I've said it once, I say it 1,000 times, I love pick up and deliver because it forces you to be efficient in your gameplay, and you have to plan ahead. In pick up and deliver, you have to be as effective at moving around the board as possible and try to do 2 or 3 things, or think of 2 or 3 things you want to do when you're moving. So pick up and deliver, a great mechanic. I love Oracle of Delphi. Again, it's a dice roller. You're going to have dice that you roll that you're going to choose to, that's going to decide what actions you're going to take. And again, it's not a situation where some of the dice are no good. You have to just be smart and use them in different ways. Aquasphere is kind of a programming game. It's an underwater laboratory. I love Aquasphere. It's a game that I purchased and sat on my shelf for months. I just didn't have time to get to it. I had other games that I was playing, and it was in my closet, and one night we just got it out and played it, and I was like, oh, I'm in love with that game. But it has little bots that you program underwater to do different functions and different actions, and it's just a blast. Aquasphere. I think it came out in 2017. Marigot, this is kind of a big box for Stefan Feld game, and because it has a dice tower in it. And in it, you're going to drop different color cubes or resources down the tower, and what you drop down the tower may not come out exactly like that. There's little ledges in the tower itself to catch these cubes, and sometimes they don't all come out, and maybe they'll come out on the next time you drop some cubes down it. So that's a really cool mechanic in Amerigo. It's a game about discovery. And then Castles of Burgundy, if I had to pick Stefan Feld's most popular game, it'd be Castles of Burgundy. Everybody loves that game about the Loire Valley in, I don't know, 15th century or something. And you're trying to build the most powerful estate. Again, you're rolling dice, and those are going to decide your actions. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that one first is because this is the card game version of Castles of Burgundy, and I love this game because I play it solo all the time. And just every once in a while, maybe Lori's gone on a trip or something, and I'm at home, and I play 5 or 6 games of this in a row. I just love playing this game solo, Castles of Burgundy card game. Bora Bora, I just got maybe last year. It took me a while to pick that game up, but man, I'm in love with that game also. I enjoy it. You're building huts and temples, and it's just a beautiful production. I really love Bora Bora. In the Year of the Dragon, that's this game. It's a game of survival, and I generally don't like survival games, but I love this one, and here's why. In survival games, different things are going to jump out at you, and I'm talking about games like First Martians and Robinson Crusoe. Different things will be challenging you, but you don't know what they are. In the Year of the Dragon, Stefan Feld's game, you lay out all the challenges. The tiles are face up, so you know what's coming. The challenge is to plan for it, and that is hard to do because you're going to have to make some tough decisions. In the Year of the Dragon, I love that game. It's the best survival game I've ever played. Notre Dame, this is the 10th anniversary edition, but I don't know what year it came out, but the 10th anniversary came out in 17, so that would make it 2007 if I did my math correctly. But you're playing, and it's a board game that you play, and it takes place in Paris, and it's in the shadow of the Notre Dame Cathedral, and you're trying to become the most prominent. So Notre Dame. And other games of his worth mentioning are Bruges and Macau. I've played both those games. I love them. I don't have copies of those games. They're very hard to come by. Stefan, if you're watching this game, send me a note and send me a copy of those games. I've been looking for them for a while, and I just haven't been able to get them, but I've played them and I love them. And so those are pretty much all the games I want to mention by Stefan, but I do want to say one thing, and here's why this is my explanation as to why Stefan Feld is the best board game designer in the world. Stefan Feld has a special ability to weave together several game mechanics into an intellectual tapestry of magic that is unrivaled in the gaming industry. He does more with less than anybody designing board games. The guy is a genius. I love his games. His name is Stefan Feld. You can't go wrong with any of these. Have fun. He's #1. Okay, so that's it. That's the top 5 board game designers in the world, in my humble opinion. And you know, I play a lot of board games, and I do a lot of research, and I enjoyed doing this video. These guys are tremendous individuals, I'm sure, and again, they've given such pleasure to my wife and I by allowing us to play those games, and I really enjoyed doing that. I don't spend a lot of time watching TV at my age. It's kind of dangerous, but I like to keep my mind fresh and sharp, and board games help me do that as a senior citizen, and I kind of gear my videos towards people my age. That doesn't mean that other age groups won't like these videos or won't enjoy these games, for sure, but a lot of games you're not going to see on this on my videos, maybe younger people would like. So keep that in mind. I mean, I'm not the final word or authority on anything, but those guys that I mentioned and those games that I showed you are amazing. You will love them no matter what your age group, and please check them out and try them. I would like to say a special shout out and thank you to my friend Maui. He's my technical advisor or technical helper, and you know, special effects guy or whatever. Everything that you see on these videos, I wouldn't be able to do without him. So I really love Maui for that. He's my friend, and I really enjoy the things he does for me with these videos. And then also I want to say a special shout out to my friends Tom and Alicia, who I met at Dice Tower Con, and they have a new addition to their family, and hey, that is terrific, you guys. Laura and I both congratulate you. So with all that being said, happy board gaming to everyone, and you know, check out some of these games. You're going to love them. Have a great night.